I know this seems like I just really like carpet. I swear I just want to talk about my magazine that I made as a kid. So, when I was little, I just really wanted to make stuff. I just kind of wanted to have kind of my own brand, I guess, that would encompass a bunch of different things, whether that was like a show, movie, website, all that kind of stuff. And that brand was called Wozniak News. It started around 2006, and it originally started in third grade when there was a creative writing assignment we had to do where, the teacher was just like, hey, write a story. And I wrote a story about me as a dumb newscaster. And then my classmates seemed to enjoy it, so I just kept on doing it until, like, I don't know, I got a camera. And then I just started to make videos based on that. And then I made DVDs of those videos. And then I made a website. But before that website, I decided I wanted to do more writing and drawing and all that stuff. And I read a lot of magazines as a kid. That was a lot of like Nickelodeon magazine. And I kind of wanted to make my own magazine. So I did Wozniak Newsmagazine. And I did these from, I'd say, 2007 in fourth grade up until seventh grade. And I stopped mainly because I just felt like by the time I was entering eighth grade, I was like, I should probably stop because, making my own magazine was cute back then. But when you go into eighth grade, there's just this, you just kind of feel like, yeah, I should probably like not do that anymore because, like I said, it was cute back then. When you keep doing it, when you're in eighth grade, ninth grade, 10th grade, it gets a little weird. So I mainly did this, I think, weekly. Every Friday, a magazine would release most of the time. And I think I might have transitioned to make it more monthly as time went on. But in fifth grade and sixth grade, I believe I did it weekly. And I mainly did it in Microsoft Office, Microsoft Word, and Microsoft Paint. And this was one of the later issues. The later issues got a lot more elaborate and artistic, I guess. But these were some of the first ones here. As you can see, it's a lot more, it's definitely a lot simpler. You can tell this was just a layout option in Microsoft Word, just the trees. But as you can see, it was literally just making these in Microsoft Word. I would just like, okay, put the logo there, then type, put a picture, and then type, and then that would be the cover. Also, I did notice I have two issue number 43s, so you might be able to tell. But these ones were from fifth grade. I have the first couple around here somewhere. Yes, these are the first couple. These were from fourth grade. As you can tell, even compared to the lesser covers from fifth grade, these are even worse because like the formatting is just terrible. It's using the generic kind of pop text font you could do in Microsoft Word. That's like one of my pet peeves when you can specifically tell, like it's just like, yeah, this text looks cool, but you can tell this is from Microsoft Word 2007. So I always recommend kind of taking something and making it seem more like your own. Even something like this, I think, is better, like this logo, because I mean that could have been made anywhere. This is like so blatantly Microsoft Word that it kind of sticks out to me. It's like when people would make movies in iMovie and they would use the very obviously iMovie effects in there. Like it kind of takes me out of a lot of videos or just whatever you make with iMovie. But I believe this was probably the first issue that I made, and this was in fourth grade. As you can see, I pretended I was making a game. I believe the concept behind that was I was a avid user of kind of Googling make your own game or something on Google. And a lot of that would bring you to these Flash game makers where they give you just a very generic template and they just say upload some pictures. You'd upload some pictures and you could make your own game, I guess. Even though like it would literally be the exact same game, but you know, oh, your face is in it now, or oh, these pictures you drew are in it now, stuff like that. And that's what I kind of banked on. I pretended I was making this game for the Wii and PS3 and PC and stuff, and the DS, mainly because those platforms technically had web browsers, so I wasn't lying per se, but a lot of those platforms, specifically the Wii and the DS, they couldn't run those games because they were Flash. You know, you can't play Flash games on the Wii and DS web browsers. But as we can see, and I also decided to draw that there for some reason. But news game. Let's see. As we can see, this was still 4th grade me, and I was still trying to figure out what humor was defined as. So half of these were just literally like, oh, Scott blows a bubble, and it goes like it's all over him. The oldest thing next to bread. I was in 4th grade. Yes, as you can see. So I didn't know how to print pages, like print double-sided pages. So I would just glue them together. I was really adamant about making this seem like an actual magazine, and actual magazines had double-sided pages. And I didn't know how to do that. I eventually figured out like the correct way to do that with just a standard inkjet printer. You know, like if you want to do that, you have to stick the paper back into the printer in a specific way, so then it prints on the back, but it's also not upside down or backwards or something like that. But I didn't know how to do that back then. And the printer that we had didn't have like a double-sided option. A lot of printers have an option where you can just print something double-sided automatically. We didn't have that, so I would just glue these pages together. The locker of death. I have a locker there, and then it takes a while to get to. That's the joke. That's it. I was still trying to figure out Microsoft Paint. I was always more into drawing on paper. Even now, I recently got an iPad Pro with an Apple Pencil, and I've been doodling around on that, and I like it, but I still prefer using paper and pencil or pen or whatever, just because, you know, that's just more natural to me. But over the years, I got pretty good at Microsoft Paint. So here's the blurb about the game I was making, Wozniak News: Attack of the 50-Foot Raccoon. So that was the thing. Evil Raccoon was based on the short stories I made in 3rd grade. You know, the Wozniak News short stories I made in creative writing time in 3rd grade. I guess there was an antagonist raccoon that was always after me in those stories. So I took that raccoon and I made it a part of the magazine / a part of the Wozniak News universe, I guess, back then. But last time you played the Wozniak News game, now Scott is becoming Super Scott. I had blonde hair back then. So, yeah, the Wozniak News game was some not game that I threw together in Windows DVD Maker that was primarily just me talking to the camera, pretty much going, oh, who do you think's going to win here? Place your bets. So it was technically a game, but there was no interactivity. You basically just talked to your TV screen, and I called that a video game. But this is the sequel. It's called Wozniak News: Attack of the 50-Foot Raccoon. A bit more ambitious considering it was an actual game, pretty much because I just made a bunch of Flash games in generic Flash game makers, and I called it a Wii, Xbox 360, Nintendo DS, PSP, PC, and iMac game. I do not think the Xbox 360 had a web browser at that time, so that was a straight up lie. I just liked making game cover art. That was one of the best pictures I drew in Microsoft Paint at the time. I was pretty proud of that one. I thought overall. I also said EA and THQ made it. Could you imagine the powers you have for Scott are Dance Attack, Rock Attack, Sing Attack, Scott Ball, Super Whack, Eat Attack, Super Scott, and Puppet Scott. So a lot of those attacks were just me, like, I believe the Flash games you can make with these generic Flash game makers, which, like I said, were literally just Flash games that allowed you to import pictures, and then your pictures would be in the game. Like, it's just like the thing you would control would be the picture that you imported. So I believe when I say Dance Attack, there was a dancing Flash game. There was like a DDR, Dance Dance Revolution ripoff. Sing Attack, same thing. Like there was a rhythm game. Scott Ball, Super Whack, Eat Attack. I remember there was like this weird. It was kind of like a breakout game, like Arkanoid or Breakout, but like the ball was bouncing off of little chocolate bars. So, and I believe you could. The ball in the game was the picture you imported. So I believe that's what I was referring to when I said Eat Attack. Or Scott Ball. It could have been either one. But again, there it is. Movie alert! The Wozniak News movie is not called the Wozniak News movie. It is called Wozniak News: The Curse of 9 News. Alright, so apparently I was making a movie. I guarantee you I wasn't making... I probably like to think I was making a movie. Just because I liked everything that went into it. I liked designing like the posters and coming up with the title and just saying, "Oh, this is coming," whatever, and writing magazine articles about it. But it definitely wasn't happening. I probably filmed some random stuff for it, but it definitely never got finished. And even if it did, it was probably like 10 to 15 minutes, just like any other video I would make. The movie has been in production for a long time. It was probably in production for about 2 days before I wrote this article. After many times of doing an original plot is where evil Raccoon steals Scott's job and then takes over 9 News. It was called 9 News. Like that was the fake company that ran Wozniak News, because I was 9 when I made it. And then The World. After many times of doing so, the plot was scraped. For those who don't know what scraped is, it means the plot of that movie or TV show was planned, but people had better things to do on the program. Okay. I remember my writing capabilities were much better than this, but that also sounds like something I would write, right? It also sounds like something I would write nowadays. There we go. Coming December 30th, 2007. Damn. And then Scott Scramble. I think this is supposed to be a game, and it's supposed to be a dumb game, because it's like, connect the dots, A to B. You know, it's supposed to be dental floss. This was definitely me kind of taking after a lot of Nickelodeon Magazine, which did a lot of gags like this. I read Nickelodeon Magazine all the time. I read Nick Magazine all the time, Nintendo Power, Game Informer, all that stuff. And this magazine was very much so inspired by Nick Magazine. And that is definitely indicative of that. And then we have an advertisement for Attack of the 50-Foot Raccoon. Warning, eyeballs included. No, I think this was made in a PC game called Disney Magic Artist, which was pretty cool at the time because it allowed you to do like little effects like that, like put all those eyeballs on the screen, and that was kind of a 3D-ish looking version of the 9 News building. The tallness has just got to stop. Attack of the 50-Foot Raccoon. And then what do we have here? Is that an advertisement for The Curse of 9 News on HD DVD? It's beautiful. When Scott finds a object that was cursed and watch out for the ghost. Comics. Who would know you actually read? Today, instead of comics, a little game. Come on, Scott. Come on. That's such a tease. It's a little game. Try to define all these pictures to the characters on Wozniak News. So some of these are supposed to be my friends. That's supposed to be my dog. That was my dog Chase. Evil Raccoon. These are my friends, and then that's supposed to be me. I totally didn't just read the answers down there. Let's see. That one was actually pretty glued on. New News in News. I always liked that name. I mean, that title. That was supposed to be for the news of the week or of the issue in general, and I always liked that. I always liked that title. It was so stupid. Now the news name I use, I believe I used it in a very Madden 08 Christmas. It's just called News: The News, which I still like. That was also good. I should have called it that. I should have called the news program that as a little nod, but only I would have really understood it at the time. The curse is coming soon, which is going to end in a boom, so get ready to run and eat a hamburger bun. Why am I rhyming? Well, who knows? Okay, so what I think was the case with this issue was this is an amalgamation of a bunch of stuff that I made, and then I just staple it all together because, you know, there's already a news section, and then I believe this looked like it was almost supposed to be another cover itself. There's me running. Games. What's wrong with this sentence? I ate my sandwich at 12 o'clock. Everything. Hey, I'm not rhyming. Woohoo. You see, I think, see, it's literally, like, I think this was kind of like a bunch of pages were just meshed together. Autographs. These are our WN, Wozniak News. Worker Sing. It's supposed to be signature, but I abbreviated it as Sing, of course. And bye-bye, you stay, good puppy. All right. And then we have these other two that were kind of from the 4th grade era that I was still trying to figure stuff out in. I think these I kind of just like threw together just because, you know, I'm just bored one day, so I was just like, I'm gonna make a new issue, and I took it a lot more seriously in the next grade, in 5th grade. Scott's Bad Day. It's literally just me getting mauled by an alligator, getting a spoon in my eye, and then I got a doorknob in my eye. That's unfortunate. Okay, I still didn't know how to print double-sided. Scott's paint set. I literally just get paint all over me, and then the building explodes. I have to specify SW 5 minutes later. New news and news. The new WN games are coming. The first is WN Olympic Games. Play your way through the Olympics to defeat the evil raccoon. Now, Wozniak News Party. The first Wozniak News Party game will feature 20 minigames to see who's... That is pitiful. That is a pitiful amount. My God. The newest episode is the Christmas episode. Watch Scott go to the North Pole. I didn't make that, I think. I definitely didn't make that. So that wasn't me lying. I like this. This is Wazdoku, or Wazduko. It's supposed to be Sudoku. Sudoku. Oh, God, no. No, I might have completely mispronounced that because I got distracted by Wazduko. But this was supposed to be basically the same thing, but you'd use, like, these character faces. The problem is, I'm pretty sure I did not test that, and it may be impossible to finish. Okay. A maze helps Scott get to 9 news. Let's see. Okay. You see, I still got it. I remember. Okay. The game that was already included. Okay, so then we have The Curse of 9 News on DVD, HD DVD, and Blu-ray. I guarantee you these two never existed, and I am 99% sure a DVD of it never existed. All right. Then we move on to the comic explosion. You can see there's no comics. I think I just included a bunch of whatevers. Some new comics and some old comics from the other issues. 7 of the best. Scott's alarm clock. I hit the alarm clock, and then oh man, that's relatable humor. See, it's terrible, but I was a little forward thinking with that. Because it's like, oh man, the alarm went off, and I'm just like, no, and then I smash it, but then it's already sunrise. Everybody's in that situation, you know, when the alarm... well, not actually. Because I think it's like, the situation I think a lot of people are in is where you wake up like 5 minutes before your alarm goes off, and it's the worst feeling ever. This one was literally just... The alarm goes off, and it's sunrise. What was I expecting there? The money jar. Money Money gets piled up 28 weeks later. There's nothing in the money jar. I say I don't get it. The sentiment still holds true today. All right, the big blam. Okay, I'm mixing up chemicals. Explosion. How did that happen? It was acid. It's always acid. Always has to be acid. All right, the paint set that was included in another issue. Pest of the West. That's the name of a SpongeBob episode. I'm sure I just ripped that off of that. Let's see. Okay, I get on a horse. That is a crazy looking horse. And then it destroys the 9 News building, and I look befuddled. Those two have been in issues prior. Was that 7? 2, 4. Oh, yeah, 7. Technically, I mean, like, that's one, and then that's another. So, I'll take my word for it. The new Lice cartoon! So that is, what that was all about was I wanted to do kind of like my own cartoon, I guess. And the way I did that was I incorporated that into an episode of Wozniak News. It was like a special animated episode where I got lice. I drew like lice in my hair or something like that. And then I kind of spun that off. I did a few more little cartoons with them just because they were honestly really easy to draw in Microsoft Paint, because it's literally just like 3 circles to make a bug-looking thing. And they go flea hunting in March 2008. I don't care about that page. I don't care. Well, I mean, okay, that's a lice finder game. Where are all the lice? I don't know. There's the Wozniak News Party Box Art. That's fun. For the Wii. This was only done... Oh, no, never mind. You get EA and THQ. Okay, yeah. I was going to say. Alright, but... That was 4th grade, pretty much. Like I said, that was definitely some of the lesser issues. The writing was pretty bad. The drawings in Microsoft Paint were pretty bad. It wasn't great. But around the time 5th grade rolled around, the issues started to become a lot more high quality, as you can see. So this is issue 32, apparently. I'm pretty sure like the numbering was kind of accurate, but I'm sure it wasn't completely accurate. This is issue number 19, the international issue. It's got some like water stained on it or something. WN is going international. I'm going up against a sumo wrestler, and I'm writing my will. As you can already see, the drawings are actually much better here. I was definitely starting to figure out Microsoft Paint. I only specifically drew with the mouse, and that took a while to get used to. But I definitely started to get much better at that. This was basically how I drew myself back then. It wasn't that far off, as in, like, you know, I was a white kid with blonde hair, so that's about as... I mean, like, yeah, there it goes. That's me. But I believe my drawing style was definitely inspired by... It was kind of a mesh between SpongeBob and Fairly Oddparents. Fairly Oddparents, I think, is very obvious by, like, the hair. That's probably the most obvious. Everything else, I think, was kind of like a mesh between Fairly Oddparents and SpongeBob, because I definitely vastly preferred SpongeBob in terms of everything. But Fairly Oddparents was another cartoon that I watched a lot, and that actually incorporated humans. SpongeBob didn't really have a lot of humans in it, so I definitely kind of took after Fairly Oddparents, but I wanted to include a bit more like SpongeBob-esque design qualities. I think I don't know. I'm trying, like, you know, the hands, just like the body proportions, I think is a little more, Fairly Oddparents was a little more stylized in terms of how simple it was, I guess. That's the best way I could describe it there. But this is the international issue. And I actually drew a logo. I always liked that logo. I always thought it was pretty good. I think I took after, like, the Nickelodeon magazine redesign, because they originally had the Nickelodeon logo on the top, and then they went for, honestly, more of this design. That's much more like, it's in the left-hand corner, and it's just, you know, a simple little logo right there. So I kind of took after that a bit more, and I started to include the issue numbers and the date of it all. And this was also where comics started to become a lot more in-depth. So there were 4 comics in the entirety of Wozniak News magazine, that is. And the first one was Funky Pickle. That was the name of it. And then we can move on over here. I'll just kind of skip right here just so then I can go over, because I can already look at the featuring section, and it shows all the comics. There were only 4 comics. Pretty much, it started with just Funky Pickle, and then we moved on to Evil Raccoon. He got his own comic, Afro Chick, and The Weird League. So Funky Pickle was mostly, it was mostly kind of a story sort of thing where it's just like, oh, writing and then a picture, writing and then a picture, writing and then a picture. Not really a comic. These were a bit more close to that. Evil Raccoon's Evil Plans. This was kind of like every single comic was a different evil plan of his. This one was make an Earth-friendly laser. He blasts himself, turns into a tree. That's the best joke I've seen in these magazines so far. Afro Chick, that was based on, there was a student in my class that raised chickens, and her chicken had a baby chick, and he had a little tuft of hair at the top, and it looked like an afro. So that kind of inspired the creation of the comic Afro Chick. That's not really an afro, but it's whatever. And then The Weird League was probably like the most comic-like, because it was actually panels. The Weird League was a group of really bizarre superheroes, as in like just kind of like weird ones, kind of like dumb weird, not even like weird, just kind of like pretty useless superheroes. That was definitely probably my favorite, because the superheroes were based off of kids in my class, and that was kind of the core of Wozniak Newsmagazine going into 5th grade. 5th grade, it was much more focused on being a class thing. I would bring these into the class, and the students would read it. The teachers were super, super supportive of it from 5th to 7th grade. Like I said, I considered doing it in 8th grade, but that was around the time I thought I might be getting a little too old for this. But this is Funky Pickle. This was ripped off of a children's book that was called Do the Funky Pickle, and I was just like, I can make a character about that. So I made a Funky Pickle. He has more of an afro than Afro Chick. And then he has oh god, I don't know, like his I think his brother, his little brother, Super Pickle. It's a super baby pickle. He has a diaper on all the time. And then Funky Pickle's best friend, Nerdy Apple. They're playing video games. Nerdy Apple has a friend called Whiz Pickle. He's a genius, dumb pickle. I don't know. And then Super Pickle had like a girlfriend or some kind of sister or something. I don't know. It was like Carly Cucumber. And then there was and then Super Pickle also had an evil twin brother called Dark Pickle. That was kind of it, but that was kind of the highlight. That was kind of the star comic of Wozniak Newsmagazine, because it was always the first one. It was the first ongoing comic, and it also had the most episodes, whatever, stories, whatever you want to call it. WozniakNews.com, WN.com. Wozniak News is going international. So this was, I believe, the first time I initiated the website. I originally had, I used webs.com. It was also known as freewebs.com to make it. And I convinced my parents to sign me up for like the domain, the official domain, WozniakNews.com, instead of just WozniakNews.webs.com. Because the thing about the domain was that you could just look it up on Google and it'll come up. With the webs.com, if you just made it for free, you would have to go into the search bar and you would just have to you would specifically have to type in wozniaknews.webs.com. This way you can just go to Google and just type in Wozniak News. It's not active anymore. I'm sure there's some way you can kind of find remnants of it. But, maybe I can kind of look into it. I probably remember my password. Now you can have access to the WN theme song, magazines, games, WN reviews, Funky Pickle, fans, guest book, events, videos, and much, 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 much more. I pretty much utilized every single feature Webs allowed me to have because I thought that was cool. There were like message boards, and I could embed games and stuff like that. It was a lot of fun. There's a Super Pickle snow sculpture. So 5th grade, as you can see, was where the magazine became much more of a legitimate thing to me, just a very important part of like my year, because, you know, as you can see, first off, I did in fact make the covers cardstock, so they're slightly beefier. It also keeps these preserved for much longer, so then the covers aren't as easily just crumpled up or anything like that. And another big thing was in 5th grade, these magazines became much more of a communal thing. I'd bring them in to the class. The teachers were very supportive of it, of course, and you know, I would pass them around to the kids. And a lot of the times, we would just leave these magazines out for people to grab during like silent reading time and whatever. So that's also why I'm not going to show everything from these magazines, because a lot of these things, since it was communal, I would have students sometimes contribute stuff, whether that was reviews or comics or drawings or whatever. I would have people contribute stuff, but I'd also like incorporate students into games, like as in like, oh, like this is, you know, which student is which and stuff like that. And I haven't talked to a lot of these people in years, so I don't really know if they want me talking or showing like their 5th grade, 6th grade selves publicly. So we're just going to focus on the stuff I created that was specific to the magazine. But as you can see, this is the Evil Raccoon issue, specifically to Evil Raccoon. He had a son, or a little sidekick. His name was RJ. I was definitely getting much better at Microsoft Paint. And this was actually one of the first times that the Weird League was drawn in Microsoft Paint. Most of the time, the Weird League was the only one that was drawn with a pencil on paper and then scanned in. And I think that was also one of the main reasons why it was always one of my favorites. But as we can see, I also was trying to do labels on the side. This one didn't really work out. We can probably see as time goes on, I did kind of figure out a way around that. But that was one of the last ones from 5th grade. Here's just a few others. These were the notorious Double 43 issues, both in October. This was the camping issue. And this was a very specific Microsoft Word border right there. Let me see if the Weird League was drawn in Microsoft Paint here. Let's see. Nope. As we can see, this was kind of how it was always drawn right there. Just kind of drawn whatever with like actual pencil on paper, which I remember doing a lot. I remember drawing those a lot. I was in like a bowling league or whatever in 5th grade, where every Thursday or so, after school, we'd go on a bus and they'd bring us to the bowling alley and we'd bowl. My parents signed me up for a lot of stuff like that. I was fine with it. I had fun, but I remember like when we were sitting around waiting for the bus to come back, I remember drawing the comics of the Weird League. I never really read comics as a kid, but I liked the excuse to draw my own stuff. Let me see. The Weird League, pages 6 through 7. Oh, this one's starting to come apart a bit there. Wait. What was... Okay, so I think this was where I was trying to do a magazine-like thing, where, as you can see, I taped stuff. And that was so then it had more of a magazine, like, because, like, as you can see, the staples are on the side, kind of like a regular magazine, because regular magazines don't have the staples on just like, you know how anybody just staples stuff together. They just staple there. I wanted to staple on the side like a regular magazine. I don't really think that benefited me. If anything, that made these issues slightly less structurally sound, I guess. So it definitely kind of... Oh my god, I gave Smash Brothers Brawl a 10 out of 10. I had a reviews section at the end called Wozniak News Reviews. And I really always liked that name because it was Wozniak News Reviews. Let's see. For some reason, it looks like I typed this up in Microsoft Paint because it looks like it's a JPEG. Super Smash Bros. Brawl is about the most anticipated game of 2008. This is 2009. Does it live up to its hype? Well, let's get started with the basics. Super Smash Bros. Is simple. You pick a Nintendo character or other character such as Sonic, and then you fight another character until the time runs out. The objective is to smash the enemy off the screen. Whoever has the most smashes wins. Simple, but the best fighter ever. I did not play a single other fighting game other than Smash Brothers. One thing fighting games usually lack is single-player mode. It's not that fun unless there's another player. Brawl tries to fix that with its Subspace Emissary mode. The mode takes you on an adventure with characters, and you can unlock unlockable characters. What? The plot is absolutely ridiculous. I think it's like this. The good Nintendo characters are trying to stop the bad Nintendo characters from turning them into statues, or just blowing stuff up for no apparent reason. Also, it can get pretty boring, but it's the best fighter ever! The cutscenes are made with CGI, and they look great. That's maybe the only bad thing. Yep, the cutscenes. That's maybe the only bad thing. The game also offers Wi-Fi connection. You can battle any other player across the entire world, but the online play is a little slow, but nothing special. Overall, Brawl is great. My other complaint, $50? Come on, Mario Kart Wii costs that much, and that comes with the wheel and the game, but the $50 are worth it. 10 out of 10. All right. Yeah, my opinion hasn't really changed that much. So this was the first instance of me trying to do a full cover. Somehow this was the 1-year anniversary of the Funky Pickle comic. So I apparently started it in 2008. And then this was 2009. Actually, no, this makes sense. I believe this was in 6th grade. This was 6th grade right here, because I definitely probably started that in 5th grade, and that would be 2008 for me, because I think the thing was I made this a full-blown cover because this was a special issue, and then it reverted back to the standard one. This is the different dimensions issue, but this was a special issue, so I did the full color, the full-blown cover, and it looks all right. As you can see, it's in the logo's in the corner there. Oh man, this is just a strictly Funky Pickle issue. And then the horrors of the outside world. You see, they're getting it's dimensional stuff. Top 5 Funky Pickle comics of all time. Is it? I think these are just everything. And actually, what I did was these are JPEGs of the issues. So it's definitely a bit hard to read, a little grainy, I guess. Let me see. But yeah, this was kind of the beginning of what the magazine would become. We have the label, which you could barely read if this was on the shelf. So I just really wanted this to be like an actual magazine. And as we can see, like it feels a bit more like that because of the way it's presented, just the way it's stapled together. But like I said, I reverted back to this style, and then let me actually see. Okay, because I was gonna say maybe the 50th issue was where I started doing the full color, the full blown stuff. But I believe around 2010 this became the mainstay. This was the winter issue. I reviewed New Super Mario Bros. Wii, and I had to cut it up into 2 parts. The Mario games are always fun and creative. The newest one should not disappoint. New Super Mario Bros. Wii is a sequel to the Nintendo DS game New Super Mario Bros. The gameplay is a little different in the Wii sequel. The power-up in the DS game, the Mega Mushroom, the mushroom power-up that makes you as big as the screen, isn't in this game. Instead, we get the propeller suit. The propeller suit is a suit that Mario puts on to glide around the stages. Shake the Wii remote to glide around. Multiplayer has been added, which we will talk about in part 2. Well, what's the point? But as we can see, I say here's the cover preview of the 50th issue. I was always very, very proud of that cover. That was fully hand drawn, but of course it's scanned in to the computer. But these are all the characters from the comics and stuff like that. We have the Funky Pickle crowd, Afro Chick, the evil Raccoon, and then we have Weird League over there. I was always very proud of that, but this was issue 48, so do I have 49? Let me see. Yeah, this is 49. The Weird League movie is coming again. Lie. It was a complete lie. I just like just like doing that. Oh, I did this is a cool table of contents. All right, the 50th issue. This was the big boy. Like I said, I'm still proud of that. Of course, again, I liked having an excuse to draw. And I was really getting into these different shading, like the shading. Of course, the shadows do not match up at all, but it just kind of makes it look like much more of a big deal that way. I specifically remember when you would take like a cartoon that would be on TV and then you bring it into like a feature film, or just like you have like a TV movie or something like that. A lot of times they put more effort into just shading the characters, kind of putting these kind of shadows on them. Oh my god, I had a little intro. I just talked about stuff. Let me see. Before the magazine starts, I must say something to celebrate the 50 issues of Wozniak Newsmagazine. When Wozniak Newsmagazine first started, it was just a thing I did for fun. That is true. And it was always that. I would have never guessed it would come all the way with me, from 4th grade to 6th grade. Each issue was done with care and attention, and each comic has a totally different backstory to them. Funky Pickle was started in late 2008. The name was based off of the title to the book, Do the Funky Pickle. The first characters ever produced were Funky Pickle, Nerdy Apple, and an early version of what would become Super Pickle. His name was Plain Peanut? I don't remember that at all. I do not remember the first... I don't remember what the first... I might actually remember what the first comics were about that, but yeah. Nerdy Apple was originally a girl and was Funky Pickle's wife. I don't remember that either. After some changes, the comics started in Wozniak Newsmagazine. Issue number 9, the Going Green issue. Wait. Oh, okay, I remember. Because we looked at the Going Green issue, but that was issue... I can see it over there. It's issue number 32. I believe there were 2 different ones. I believe I did another one prior to that, so whatever. Where was it? And was a hit. Okay. 5 Super Pickle stress release dolls were made in May 2009. Wait, what? I mean, like, I kind of remember that now, but I don't. What was that? Oh my god. Okay, I think the thing was, we found a bunch of stress release, like, pickles or whatever, and I just drew on them. I just drew, like, a diaper, because it's Super Pickle, and I put a cape on it, and I drew the Super Pickle face and stuff like that. And it is the longest-running Wozniak News magazine comic to date. Evil Raccoon's Evil Plans was based off of the very first Wozniak News short stories. In 2006, Wozniak News was a series of short stories involving a wacky newsman named Scott on a show called Wozniak News. Scott's arch nemesis, Evil Raccoon, became the most popular character. Evil Raccoon is still in Wozniak News, having his own comic, website... I mean, like, he probably had a page on WozniakNews.com, but I don't remember an EvilRaccoon.com. And an animated series in the works. Yeah, I did try to make an Evil Raccoon animated series. I think I made 1 episode in Microsoft Paint. Like I said, like I would do a lot of stuff in Microsoft Paint. I tried to do a lot of animation in Microsoft Paint, but it was always really difficult to me. I always wanted to be an animator when I was younger, but it really turned me off when I was trying to make it work in Microsoft Paint, and I had to do lip syncing. And I just ended up making the character's mouth just flap up and open, and I never liked that. I always felt like it looked really bad, and like lip syncing was such a tedious act that it turned me off from animating myself in general. Afro Chick is based off of a classmate's own chicken with an afro. Many people say that the afro Afro Chick has isn't an afro. The reason for that is a real afro didn't look good on the character, so it was changed to look square. The Weird League is actually based off of real students. And that is why that section has been censored. Are the people who were the inspiration for the Weird League. In January 2009, WozniakNews.com was started. Now with over 30 members, so you could sign up for the website, like you could become like a user. And I got 30 of them. Now with over 30 members, Wozniak News gets over 200 views a month. In August 2009, an article in The Mirror was about Wozniak News and the magazine. That was a newspaper article that was local to me. After all of this yapping about the past, what's it going to be like in the future for Wozniak News? Wozniak Newsmagazine will still be rolling and finishing up its 2009-2010 year on June 2nd, 2010. The answer to the question, will the magazine still go on for the 2010-2011 school season, is not yet answered. The magazine may continue, but it will only continue if it is wanted. WozniakNews.com will still run, and I don't know if I'll still do the comics online, but here's a fact. Funky Pickle, Evil Raccoon, Afro Chick, and Oven Dude. Oven Dude was the main character of the Weird League. Won't be leaving the Wozniak News universe soon. So yeah, the 50th issue was probably my best one. Everything just was like really good with this one. The cover, the comics were pretty good there. Everything, and it was a pretty thick issue, as we can see. There was definitely some meat to it compared to the other ones. And that kind of stayed true throughout the entire rest of the run of the magazine. I did this through 6th grade. This one got kind of water damaged because the magazines were kind of up against a window in the classroom. And the thing was, like, I'm pretty sure it rained a bit one day and it got kind of splashed all over the place. This was for the 4th anniversary of Wozniak News. And then this was the art of Wozniak News. Let me see. So this was like me drawing these promotional posters for whatever the comics I would do. Look at that. The first Super Pickle drawing. That's a Funky Pickle whatever thing. Let me see. The Final Showdown. The 2nd volume I would compile all the comics into like whatever one big book. A Pickle-tastic issue. Okay, so I don't have that one anymore. I don't know what happened to that one. These are pretty much all the ones that I still have. Who knows? That might be somewhere in like my parents' attic or something, but I feel like it either got thrown away or it's with like a teacher or something. Let me see. Evil Raccoon's Evil Plans. He's Steve Jobs there. Let me see. This Flyman. I don't know what that. An Evil Raccoon Valentine. Afro Chick. I have no idea who that guy. Oh, it's Pun Man. I don't know. Let's see. It's Afro Chick stuff. The Weird League. That was painted. Look at that. The Weird League hanging out. Let me see. There was a lot of stuff. I did pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the overall whatever quality of those drawings. And that was literally it. Wow. I totally just, I didn't care with that issue. There was absolutely nothing new in that issue. It was just a compilation of art. I didn't know, I don't think that should be an actual issue number. That should be more of like a special issue. That was just kind of like a bonus, but I was pretty happy with that. But yeah, that's pretty cool. But as we can see, you know, it was... The quality definitely improved, and I'm pretty happy with where it went. Okay, that one's not as good, but this was the 3D issue. I made 3D glasses, and it looks like Oven Dude's face. Oh my god, man. Oh. So it's literally just 2 of Oven Dude. I can see if this works. I believe this really did not work well. It does the job. Like, it's not great, but it's pretty good. Wait, let me see. I didn't know the logo was in 3D. Logo doesn't really work well. I think I just used like pretty typical. Yeah, some of these work. Like that one's kind of 3D, but it's a little. It's not that 3D. It's just a little... It pops a little bit. Let me see. The Weird League ain't that bad. It's not 3D. Like, the thing is... This mainly... like, the only way this is 3D is the fact that, like, when I put the glasses on, the comic's actually readable now. It's not really 3D outside of that. I think I just... There were like a few... Oh my god, this is barely even 3D. Yeah, like that... Why? These parts are... Sorry! I forgot to make these panels 3D. God. If you can't read the text... Okay, so I at least had the decency to do that. Because that was just like... You know, it's just did not work well. But I should probably put these back before I forget. These are relics. I'm happy this still has... I still have these. Because I think I just, like, found 3D glasses. I cut out the blue and red little transparent layers, and I made my own. We have the Fall is Here issue. I'm not going through these because, like I said, a lot of these may have just, like, student names or pictures, and I don't really know. Like, I haven't talked to a lot of them in years, so I don't really know if they'd want that. The election issue. Man, I loved politics in issue 64. But yeah, this was around 7th grade. This cover was cool because this was a picture take, and I made clay models of the characters. And then that's a good picture. I like that. They're all Christmas cookies. Let's see, the DIY issue. I remember I looked in this one a couple years after I laid it out. As in, like, I was like, hey, draw your own whatever, because some things let you do that. There was a penis in here. I also did not care. I was just like, that was more so kind of funny to me in retrospect. Somebody drew something funny. Wozniak Newsmagazine, a look back. There's a bunch of different magazine covers. There's some that I don't have now. I remember that one. That was an old Christmas issue. Let's see, the retro issue. There's an NES, an Alf. There's a picture of me there. And the WozniakNews.com issue. That was when the website was really kicking off. The Wozniak News Awards. That was really funny because, like, I just set up a poll on my website, just like, what was your favorite thing this year, and it had like 5 votes on it, and I was just like, all right, we got an award show. But that was fun. Let's see, and then the 5 years of Wozniak News issue. I can't believe I was still doing this. Man, I don't even remember. Like, I don't remember doing Wozniak News back in 2011 that much. I mean, like, these were nearing the final issues. This is probably either the second or third to last issue. I believe the last issue was probably like June of 2011. Basically, like, the last day of 7th grade, I had a new issue, and that was it for Wozniak News. So nearly around 70 issues, potentially. Like I said, the numbering could have been off, but at least around like issue 20 or so, I started like officially numbering the issues fairly decently. But yeah, these were the issues of Wozniak News. I'm sorry I didn't really go through them that much. I mean, we can see what one of the final issues were like. Okay, so here's the thing. I can definitely tell I was just starting to not really care as much. Like, look at that. This Funky Pickle issue is literally there's barely anything to this one. And this Afro Chick is literally just I literally said, sorry, didn't have enough time to make a new Afro Chick, but there will be 7 new issues coming out in May. What? I don't remember that. I don't remember there being 7 new issues. I maybe tried to mean several. And then, oh my God. What? Oh my God, Scott, you were so lazy. I didn't even expect that. Because look at that. The Weird League in The Lost Adventures. Oven Dude here. We're busy fighting crime and stopping evil doers. Fine, we're playing hopscotch, but we did have some old adventures that nobody ever remembered. So here are like a few. I remember I already opened up an issue and that comic was there. But maybe some of these weren't around. I mean, maybe some of these weren't ever posted, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, as you can see, like, I think this was just like me kind of like, I was focusing more on making YouTube videos at the time. And the magazine, like I said, I was starting to kind of grow out of it because, like, I don't know, by the time I was getting older, the idea of making like one of these for students in 8th grade was just kind of like, eh. My teachers are very supportive of it, and I'm very thankful about that. I'm pretty sure just because not a lot of other students were making magazines like every week or at least every month here. But by the time 8th grade rolled around, I just kind of like grew out of it. But this was such a big part of 5th and 6th grade for me. 7th grade, it was definitely becoming a lot less of a passion of mine, or at least like something that I felt was necessary. I felt it was a lot more necessary in 5th and 6th grade because, like I said, like kids were reading them for silent reading time. I felt it was my duty to give them content to read. But as we can see, like this was the latest issue that I have, and it's just basically a bunch of old content. Let me at least see what the 5 years of Wozniak News is like here. Yeah, the Weird League. Like if we look back at the 50th issue of Wozniak News, that one had like an epic like 4-page comic of the Weird League, and that only had like a 2-page thing. So as you can probably see, I was just getting a lot less passionate about making this, and it was time to put it to rest. But looking back at these, I felt like I actually started to learn Microsoft Paint, like actually drawing that fairly well near the end. And I'm pretty impressed by a lot of the drawings that I did, especially, either in Microsoft Paint or just straight up, just drawing. But overall, this was a huge part of my childhood, and I'm always gonna treasure these, even though I really don't like looking through them, because it really does make me remember I was not as good at writing as I thought I was.